The most important energy corridor on Earth is controlled by a country that the West has spent decades trying to isolate. The Strait of Hormuz, just 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, carries nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply. And today, it is once again becoming a battlefield. In the last 48 hours, Iran has launched strikes beyond its borders. The United States has engaged Iranian vessels at sea, and regional energy infrastructure has come under threat. But this isn't just another escalation. This is a system-level confrontation over global energy control.
Oil and gas prices spiked today as the regional conflict escalated and shipping was disrupted in the Strait of Hormuz.
The latest escalation didn't begin with a single event. It emerged from a chain reaction. Tensions in the Gulf had already been rising, but what changed everything was direct confrontation. Iranian forces moved to assert pressure inside the Strait of Hormuz, targeting shipping routes and signaling potential disruption. In response, the United States deployed naval forces to secure passage. What followed was a series of rapid engagements at sea, where U.S. forces reportedly sank multiple small Iranian boats accused of threatening commercial vessels. But from Iran's perspective, these were not acts of defense. They were acts of aggression. And that difference in interpretation is what transforms incidents into escalation. Then the conflict expanded beyond the water. Iran launched missile and drone strikes targeting the United Arab Emirates, specifically near Fujairah, one of the region's most critical oil hubs. This was not random targeting. Fujairah is strategically unique because it sits outside the Strait of Hormuz, meaning it represents a way to bypass Iranian geographic leverage entirely. So when Iran strikes Fujairah, it's not just attacking infrastructure, it's attacking an alternative system. Geography is destiny to understand why this matters. You have to understand the map. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow maritime corridor, connecting the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea. Every day, millions of barrels of oil pass through this choke point. Tankers from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, all converge into this single route. This creates a structural vulnerability, because no matter how powerful global economies are, they are all dependent on a passage that can be disrupted by a single regional actor. Iran does not need to defeat the United States militarily to win in the Strait of Hormuz. It only needs to create uncertainty, because even limited disruption has massive consequences. Insurance premiums spike, shipping slows down, oil prices react instantly. This is asymmetric leverage. Iran's naval doctrine in the Gulf is built around this idea. Small, fast boats, mines, missiles, all designed not to dominate the sea, but to make it unusable. The United States approaches the situation very differently. Its objective is not disruption, but stability. The U.S. Navy operates to ensure freedom of navigation, safe passage for commercial vessels, and continued global energy flow. But there's a limitation to military power here. Even if U.S. warships control the waters, they cannot force private shipping companies to take the risk. And right now, many are choosing not to. Hundreds of vessels remain delayed or rerouted, which means the economic impact is already underway. What we are seeing is not a declared war, but it is not peace either. This is a gray zone conflict, where both sides operate below the threshold of full-scale war, while continuously applying pressure. Limited strikes instead of invasions, naval skirmishes instead of fleet battles, economic disruption instead of territorial conquest. This creates a dangerous dynamic, because escalation is always possible, but never fully intentional. The implications extend far beyond the Middle East. If the Strait of Hormuz is significantly disrupted, oil prices surge globally, inflation increases, supply chains tighten countries in Asia, particularly China, India, and Japan, are heavily dependent on Gulf energy flows. Europe, already facing energy challenges, would also feel immediate pressure. In other words, a localized conflict becomes a global economic event. So the real question is not whether tensions will continue. They will. The real question is, who has the advantage in this structure? Iran controls geography. The United States controls military power. But the global economy depends on both. And this is where the long-term shift begins. Because every crisis in the Strait of Hormuz raises the same question. What if the world no longer relied on it? New pipelines, alternative routes, energy diversification, all are already in motion. So while this conflict appears to be about control, it may actually accelerate something far bigger: the gradual decline of the world's most important choke point, NW. And when that happens, the balance of power in the Middle East will change permanently.